Welcome to the program now in the Element Wealth Studios. Clay Wagner, he's a candidate for Mississippi's 4th Congressional District. Clay, thanks for coming in today.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, so tell our audience, Clay, if you would, a little bit about your background and what prompted you to throw your hat in the ring here and seek political office.
Well, I probably should start by saying I'm not a politician. I've never run for anything in my life. I'm a businessman and have been for the last 40 years, 31 of that with Hancock Bank out of Gulfport, and really was not looking to pursue a political career. And last year, probably, I guess, early part of last year, my phone started ringing with business leaders around the 4th Congressional District that I'd known through my career and had a great deal of respect for, that started saying, we want to see a businessman run and not another politician. We're tired of politicians. We want a business aspect. We think you'd be good at it. Would you consider doing it? And quite honestly, the first couple of calls I got, I thought it was friends yanking my chain. And after about the 10th or 12th call, I realized it wasn't, and these folks were serious. Sure. So the first place I went was my wife, because I knew without her support, there was no point in even going any further in the conversation. And we had a really, really heartfelt conversation about what this would mean to us personally, to our lives, to our children, to our marriage. And she made a comment to me at the end of it that really struck me and pushed me. And she looked at me and she said, we need more people like you to run, but people like you won't run. And when she said that to me, I thought, in my career, I've met a lot of men and women who would make great congressmen and would not think for 1 second about doing it. And I thought, I'm in a position in my career. Obviously, it appears I've got some support to do this. I need to look at it seriously.
Yeah, interesting. So how would you differentiate yourself, Clay, from the present office holder of that congressional seat, Representative Stephen Palazzo?
Two things, and one goes back to my previous comments I just made.
Yeah.
He has become a politician, entrenched in Washington, and I am not. I'm a businessman, and I don't intend to become a politician. I'm going to go see if I can make a difference.
Yeah.
If I can, hallelujah, I'm a stick with it. If I can't, I'll give somebody else a shot at it and admit I couldn't get done what I think I can. I've got a great deal of confidence that I can go make a difference. So that's somewhat the differentiator. Another one is, and I hear this around the district regularly, that our congressman is not seen in the home district. And I don't know how you do this job if you don't come home and listen to what the people have to tell you that are their issues, their wants, their desires. I don't know how you do that long distance.
Yeah. So I think that your statements there and your distinction about not being a politician, coming from the business world, are certainly noble. The question is, I think, and I'm asking this on behalf of, I think, voters, is how do you avoid falling into the political trap once you're in the so-called swamp and you're a member of a body, in this case the U.S. House of Representatives, 435 representatives, and we all know that the more senior members of the party seated in the House or the Senate as well, they have a tendency to kind of force you to walk the plank for the party or their agenda, and there may be situations you disagree with. So I guess the summary question is, what would you tell voters about how you avoid getting pulled into the group?
It's interesting you ask that because I hear it on the campaign trail.
Okay.
The terminology I hear more often is what's going to keep you from getting corrupted.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a pretty simple answer, and it is, I don't have to be doing this, and I'm not going up there to make a career out of it or make a job out of it. I literally am going to go see if I can make a difference. And because I'm not trying to make a career out of it or a job, I actually believe it gives me a great deal of freedom to say what I think a lot of people up there are scared to say on the various issues that we are confronting.
Yeah.
Because I'm not worried about if the speaker says, bad boy, you didn't follow us. If it's not the right thing for South Mississippi and the country, I'm not going to go along with it because I'm told to. and there would be a consequence to that. There's no doubt about it. But I'd rather come home and face the voters of the 4th Congressional District and say, here's why I made a vote, and I think it was the best for us. And they may disagree with me. And if they do, they can vote somebody else in. And I'm okay with that because I'm not going to make a career of this.
Gotcha. So have you been traveling around the district? And I mean, it's a rhetorical question, but share with our audience. You've been traveling around, meeting with voters, constituents, potential constituents. And how's that been going? What are you hearing? And that's top of mind, and how are you responding to that?
I have been traveling a great deal. My gas card is showing a bigger bill than it ever has before. Yeah. I'm spending probably a little more time in the Pine Belt than I am on the coast because I'm from the coast, and my career has been on the coast, and I'm fairly well known there. Yeah. Not so much in the Pine Belt, so I've been spending more time there. And the traction is very good. What I have been a little surprised about, and I'm a newcomer at this since I've never run for anything, we're 4 weeks out from the election now, and I'm not seeing a lot of advertisement, if you will, from the other people in the race. I'm not hearing a lot of chatter about the race, which somewhat surprises me with only 4 weeks to go. And I think some of it goes back to the comments we were having before we went on the air about voter apathy. Yeah. And the average folk is just thinking, I'm going to get what I get, and I really can't make a difference. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I'm very clear that every vote counts and makes a big difference, and I ask for every hand I shake for that vote. I would tell you right now, from where I was, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, 5 months ago, when I got pretty serious about this, I knew it was a huge task to take on an incumbent, and the odds were against me. I would tell you today, I feel completely different after visiting with the voters, and especially off of the coast where I am not known. I would tell you from what we're seeing, what we're polling, my chances are very good at getting in a runoff with our current congressman. Yeah. So we're feeling very good about it.
Interesting. Do you feel like that some of the apathy, Clay, is that just people think it doesn't really matter who's there, they can't make a difference, and I'm not really getting any service out of government in general?
I think certainly folks feel they're not getting any service out of government, and they feel like most people I speak with, and probably you, Washington is broken. Yeah. And I don't see anybody I shouldn't say anybody. There's some good people up there. Sure. But I don't see a movement to fix it. And, I sure don't see it from our current congressman. So that's part of it. And I think the other part is people think, what does my one vote matter? Yeah. All right. So what are you hearing as the top issues from the folks you meet with? Well, inflation certainly is probably the top issue. And number 2 would be the border. Or lack thereof, as the case may be. Yep. For me personally, I would throw on top of that, and I don't get this from the voter because I think they're numb to it. I think the federal deficit is critical that we address. Yeah. But I think the voter has just lived with it so long now that they're numb to it. Yeah. So I don't hear that from the voter a whole lot, but I think that's a big issue. Right. What about social issues? You hearing much about that as well? I am not hearing a whole lot about that because I don't think we're seeing a lot of it in the 4th Congressional District. Okay. Now, if you go to Chicago or any of the major metropolitan areas in the country, social unrest is a big deal. Yeah. But in South Mississippi, it's not. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the president yesterday continues to point fingers at everyone but himself for the present economic dilemma, inflation, and once again communicated that spending more money will actually improve things. Do you have we got about a minute left. What do you think about trying to rein in some of this crazy spending, running up these deficits and debt? I would tell you that I think 2 actions of the government are the main reason we're having the inflation we have now. One is they're continuing to print money. Yeah. There are 50% more dollars in circulation today than there were 2 years ago. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what that does to the value of a dollar. Yeah. And the other is, under the guise of the pandemic, they dumped $3.5 trillion into an economy that could not swallow $3.5 trillion. So you have all this money now chasing too few goods. Again, what would you expect to happen but
crazy.
the price of those goods to go up?
Clay, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much for having me.
Clay Wagner, candidate for Mississippi's 4th Congressional District. We'll be right back.